For right now, it'll be me and Dr. Richard Horowitz and Hope Fitzgerald and Igor Agalabov and Marina Sarin. We are the panelists here. And all right, you're good, Marina? Marina is a real, look at her. She's a real star. I mean, she is not from this planet. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but she admits it herself. Do you see her?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about lots of different stuff today. Alan Steinfeld, and I'm calling this the Experiencer Panel, but it's a lot more than that because there's many levels of experience and people are getting connections to these higher realms more and more. It's like the veils between the dimensions are getting thinner, and who we are as human beings is reaching into the unknown. Where's my book? I want to show it.
Right
Oh,
behind.
yeah, I just want to show it. I talk about this in my new book. Thank you, Hope. Making Contact, that's all a little commercial for me. And thank you. Stop. Stop, just buy the book. Okay, no, but there is something big happening on planet Earth and we are part of it. So let me introduce some of my favorite people here. Igor Agalabov, who's had a spontaneous awakening really out of nowhere. He was a businessman. He, saw some healers and suddenly he was connected to this whole other realm. Igor, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Alan, for having me here.
Hope Fitzgerald, who is a dowser. She has, where's your wave? She talks about the infinity wave. She has these dowsing rods. She is a real expert in her field of dowsing. And we have Marina Sarin, who's actually 21 years old from Spain, who you were born this way, right, Marina? You were born kind of as an intuitive knowing. And do you want to tell a little bit about the kind of background you came in with? You want to unmute a second? Just tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't know.
Yes, so I am a starseed. I come as a hybridized individual. So I was given extraterrestrial genetics, or I was manipulated when I was newborn, when I was a fetus in the womb of my mom. And so since I was really little, I used to tell my mother that I wasn't from this planet, that I came here from another planet, and that I teleported to the womb of my mom. And so at 15 years old, I started to awaken and remember everything that I needed to know for my mission.
What did you wake up to? What were you awakened to?
I awakened to metaphysical concepts. I awakened to my nature, my mission, and actually also the background of what's going on Earth and a lot of the knowledge about the structure of existence.
Wow. Well, we're going to get into what is going on Earth and the background for all of us. I want to introduce Dr. Richard Horowitz here. He is actually a Lyme specialist, but he's just written a new book called Starseed
Revolution.
The
Awakening.
He's a doctor and now he's like a starseed manager, and tell us a little background about the book. It's kind of a comedy, but it's serious in a way.
Yes.
Tell us about that a little bit.
So I'm a board certified internist. I've been doing medicine for about 35 years and patients were coming into me, especially younger patients with climate grief. And I would ask them after they got over Lyme disease, like, what are you going to do with your life? And they basically said, well, nothing. I'm not planning on going to school or get a job because the world's going to end. And that's when I realized, wow, we have a serious situation here because there was obviously a lot of kids with climate grief. And I had been meditating and working with the Tibetan masters for about 40 years. Prior to that, I had worked with the TM people with the City program. And I basically went into a meditative state and I asked my teachers, like, I realized I was reading the climate science. This was during the last administration when it was being denied that there was a problem. I realized we were in big trouble. And I asked my teachers in meditation, what should I do? And I heard, write a book. To which I responded, I'm a Lyme doctor. Why would anyone want to possibly read a climate book by someone like me? And then I heard, no. Write a science fiction climate change book. To which I responded, just so I'm clear here, you want me to write a science fiction climate change book? And they said, yes, and please make it funny. So I downloaded in 6 months about 425 pages of a novel, which people have read so far and told me it's very funny. It's full of information on the climate. It's my way of educating people about the climate, of the problems and solutions, but engaging them in a humorous way. So
it's told from a starseed perspective, right?
Correct.
Talk about that.
I am in the book, I am half alien, half human. I've been genetically manipulated with obviously Jewish DNA. And I've never felt I've been from here. So could explain things actually. So yes, so it's written from the perspective that I am being born in the year 2037 as a half Arcturian. Half human with Jewish DNA, because my mother, Queen Darn of Arcturus, basically felt like a doctor was the only thing I could be on this planet, because obviously, lawyers are really not all that ethical. So that was out, automatically. So in any case, the book is done. It's being distributed by Simon & Schuster. I created a website with all of the information on the climate. It's starseed-revolution.com. And I've created YouTube videos as the main character. And so far, I sent them out to my patients, and I'm getting back emails like, hey, doc, my rib still hurts from laughing so hard. I had no idea you were so funny. So it seems so far
That is so great. I want to talk to you a little bit about, as we get into this, about the downloads and how they came to you and why you. But anyway, I'm going to introduce now Hope Fitzgerald, who's an expert dowser. She is a channel. She taps into other realms. Do you want to talk about one of your specialties, the infinity wave, and how would that help uplift humanity?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because 10 years ago, I had a series of visions, the first of which was a giant wave. And the message was this wave represented a push of evolution that was going to be coming to the planet. And then eventually to the last vision, which was the third one, this giant wave didn't just fall down into the water. It actually turned into a figure 8 made of flowing water. And thank goodness I had been a dowser for many years by then. So I was able to discern what this thing was that was hanging out in front of my face for about 3 days. And to make a long story short, it's a 10th dimensional energetic sent here to help us during the crunchy times we're in, help us to navigate and to stay in flow. Inherent in that watery flow is this lovely, purified 10th dimensional love and compassion that we're just not really able to ascertain on this planet. But when we bring that into 3D, when we invite a 10D energetic into 3D, we everything starts to shift, reality starts to shift, and everything goes into flow. So resistances fall away, etc. I could say a lot more about it, but that's it for now, except that if you want to try to play with this, just the idea, you'll start to feel it. You'll start to experience it, and it's a beautiful thing. And just so interestingly, the other night I was actually interviewing Alan for my group of people, and because of that, I had been reading his book. And there's a chapter in the book by J.J. Hurtak.
Yes.
And the book is so fascinating because it's different essays by different people involved and have been involved in the UFO community for decades. It's these different facets of this very complex topic. And that's really what we're on about in this world. There's so much we don't know. So all we can do is kind of put these mosaics together. But this chapter by J.J. Hurtak spoke about these extra celestials and ultra terrestrials. And this is, when I read it, I went ding, because I think that's what the infinity wave is one of these ultra celestials. It's an energy. And so I doused about it, and they said, yes, it is. But that's all very recent, a recent piece of the pie. So
thank you for being here, Hope. And thank you, Richard. And let me get to Igor again, because Igor has a great story of, you don't have to tell the whole story, but Igor, you were a business guy and you had like overnight, boom, something popped open in your mind. You want to talk about that?
Yes, I had a overnight kind of awakening where I started to connect to everything that I saw and everything that I thought of. I was starting to connect to those dimensions and realities. So there was no basically limitation of what dimension of reality I could tap into. So if you would tell me about Palladians, I would tap into that right away without even trying to. And so I basically was like a kid with all the powers, but no wisdom. And I was about 24 years old when that happened. And I would just walk around and tap into things, feel things, tap into different frequencies, dimensions, realities, with squirrels, with animals, with trees, and I would feel everything. And for me, the feeling would create an image inside of me, an energetic image. And during that time period, I lost all interest in physical reality and I disconnected from the 3D reality. And I spent about 3 or 4 years in meditation and traveling to different dimensions where I was working with the Palladians, the Arcturians, and different beings, and just downloading information nonstop. It was just downloads day after day, night after night. And to the point where my physical body started to kind of feel weak. I lost all interest in physical reality. And a few years later, after that, I was like, wait a minute. I'm here. I should enjoy this life. I have to be here. There's a reason why I'm here. And I started to focus more on grounding myself into this 3D reality and understanding what the purpose is here is to enjoy it and to share this wisdom and knowledge that we have. And during that time period, while I was in my astral planes and all different dimensions, I would work with different extraterrestrials where they would explain to me how the energy fields work and these energy bodies work and how they relate from this 5D reality to this 3D reality, how we anchor this in and how do we make these manifestations or creations from 5D into this 3D effortlessly. So how the whole system is combined and how it all alternates within itself, and that we are basically this beautiful image of light, just this projection into this reality. And from that moment on, I started to do some workshops and healings, and I have some kids. Well, I have 3 daughters, and I started to teach them this stuff before they were even born, kind of like communicating with them telepathically. And until age of 3, my oldest daughter, I raised her telepathically. So I would talk to her like, bring me a fork. She would bring me a fork.
Wow.
And we would play this way. But not everybody in my circle of family kind of understood that, and they thought this is like insane. What are you doing? You're destroying her, you're making her crazy like you. And I said, that's fine. And we still kind of work. So she does her own energy work. She's 13, 14 years old now. But the beauty of it all is that every single one of us is capable of doing this. It's just a matter of us focusing and putting our time into it instead of 9 to 5. Focus on 9 to 5 into the divine. So
Right.
it's all possible.
Thank you. Hope you were shaking your head both with some of the things you said.
I so relate, because once you actually do tap into these other realms, the physical world becomes so much less interesting, and it's so dense. So it's enjoyable to be out of it. And then this, just like I had very similar situation where I was almost halfway out and almost beyond the ability to come back in. And I had to do some things to bring myself back in, because as you say, we are here for a reason. And I realized that the real trick is to adopt a multidimensionality on a regular basis.
Right.
So, part of us is here, and it's almost like we've got a very tall sense of ourselves. So we're relating on other dimensions.
Right. So Marina, you came in really awakened, right? You came in, but what is happening now? What is the message of our time now? What you're getting stuff all the time as you awaken more and more. You really do look like a starseed, I have to say. You were like the poster child for that. But you're getting messages as you mature. What's coming down the line? Is it connected to what Richard's saying about the climate change and all that, or what? You tell us. you know, what you're
Well,
getting.
it's pretty interesting because everything relates back to astrology, because astrology and how the planets are interconnected, it's just a reflection of many of the metaphysical and esoterical structures and keys of our consciousness that, depending on the geometrical structure that they are creating or they are vibrating at, and they're formulating, it affects and it reflects different codes, different ideas on how are we experience our own cycles of energy, of evolution. So basically the sun, the central sun, it's the informer of all of these cycles of energy that are coming for humanity and other planetary consciousness of the solar system. And through solar flashes and other kind of events, it's informing us, it's sending the information encoded in the light waves that it projects to our planet. All of the information for us to receive on a cellular and genetical level, to kind of like get the information needed to create the next step towards evolution. And so it's really informing us that the times are coming in which the Earth is aligning itself, and so the solar system, with a really specific planetary consciousness and star systems that are going to kind of like channel here, come forward with a lot of energies of, or their kind of frequencies that are more feminine, that are vibrating in love, that are vibrating in compassion, unity, consciousness. We're leaving the all third dimensional and masculine frequencies of separation and tyranny. We're coming together to a new vibrational field and dimension altogether. So all these events are just informing us that our codes, our genetic codons are activating, and so many of the genetics and many of the information, many of the light codes that we had activated and awakened back in the ages of Atlantis and Lemuria and Egypt, and all of these civilizations have started to wake up. So it's happening worldwide. It's informing us of what's coming, and it's really beautiful.
So what's coming is this awakening. You have a question?
So how do we tap into?
How do we tap into a question from the audience here? How do we tap into that, Marina? Maybe I'll ask some other people. But is there a way to activate that more, to be more conscious of that transformation?
Well, we're giving everything that we need to know in the moment. So there's anything that we lack, and there's anything to put an effort into. It's all the way it's the other way around. It's about letting go of resistance and coming more of a bliss, kind of a state of being, because it's about getting back to our nature, and our nature is about being in flow. It's not about resistance, just like water runs.
Be in the flow, Barbara. That's the question. That's the answer here. So, there's Barbara Lamb. Hi, thanks, Barbara, for being with us. You can unmute yourself. Unmute. There's unmute. I'm going to change your name just down at the bottom. Barbara Lamb, I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the authorities on hybrid children, ET manifestation. Barbara, how would you know Barbara's work, right? How would you describe your work, Barbara?
Well, as a psychotherapist, I specialize in regression therapy. And so since 1991, I've been very busy regressing people to the details of their extraterrestrial experiences. So that has been the main body of my work that, I'm here to represent today. And along the way, I've come to know some quite a few, several ET human hybrids, and also several walk-in people. So they came, in both cases, the hybrids and the walk-ins have a tremendous extraterrestrial connection, in the sense that many of the walk-ins came in and did the soul exchange with a human who no longer wanted to be here. And it was very mutual, beneficial for both. And many of those walk-ins came from having been an extraterrestrial. So that's one of the ways that benevolent extraterrestrials can help us here, can really do very benevolent work here on Earth that the extraterrestrials would like to do, but they can't come and live here and do that. So sometimes a walk-in will serve that purpose. And the extraterrestrials often will give their DNA to a person, usually well before birth, sometimes even before conception. And in other words, they create an ET human hybrid who will be living here, born here, gestated full term in a mother and born here the way we birth our children. And then that hybrid grows up here and has his or her whole life here. And the point of that is to really give wonderful service to humanity. The basic idea is to help raise the consciousness of humanity.
Thank you, Barbara. That is beautiful because I happen to have a couple of them right here.
Good, yeah, wonderful. Hello.
Richard Horowitz, he is a mainstream doctor. He's a Lyme specialist, but now he's awakening to his starseed connection, which is pretty miraculous. I mean, how did you actually get in touch with the fact he's a doctor, he treats people, he's a very well-known doctor, and now he's writing about starseed. So how did you get in touch with that? I mean, that's pretty amazing.
That's wonderful.
Yes, isn't it?
The main thing really was with the climate, just looking at several years ago, just looking how bad, the climate was getting, and there was such denial going on the planet at that point. I simply opened to my spiritual teachers in meditation and asked, what can I do to help? And that's when I wrote Starseed Revolution, The Awakening. What's funny about what you just said is in the book, when I wrote it, I'm half alien, half human. I'm half Arcturian and half Jewish DNA. That's why, of course, I look like this. And people, of course, have asked me, and because I'm an Aquarius with an Aquarius rising, so Marina, that would probably make sense to you. The age of Aquarius, which is coming, it would not be really all that surprising that someone like myself, that's an Aquarius with an Aquarius rising. My wife, by the way, Lee Horowitz, is a master astrologer, and she gave me. She plays someone in the book called Master Amius, who is the master astrologer from Arcturus. And she's given me all the astrological downloads of like what's happening. And clearly with Pluto moving through its full cycle right now with the United States, we're going through a great transformation. So it just feels like I'm here to serve. And in opening and meditation, it felt like this was one of the best ways to serve, was just to meditate and bring through this book and teach people about the climate, but do it in a humorous way and give solutions, real solutions that I think are possible. By the way, one of the solutions is I'm going to need 80 million people on the planet to meditate with a very specific meditation. I call it the 1% Global Climate Solution. When I was doing the TM City program years ago, this goes back to the late 1970s in Belgium in medical school. I took the TM City program and I learned the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, where the square root of 1% of meditators in cities, they published this in the medical literature, could change the external environment.
Right.
So I've studied, my wife and I studied Mahamudra meditation for the past 10 years with the very venerable Trungpa Rinpoche, and he gave us very quick meditation instructions on how to awaken. I put these in the book for the younger generation, especially with visualizations and affirmations that if I believe I could get enough people to do this meditation, that we will actually shift physical reality. So I discuss it on the website, starseedrevolution.com, but in the book, I'm actually giving the very specific meditations that came through that I'm hoping to get millions of people to do so that we can work this from the inside to help shift the outside physical reality.
Hearing,
Wonderful.
isn't that great, Barbara? Because Barbara,
That is fabulous.
I mean,
So
hearing all
please.
this, what everyone's saying, Igor and Marina and Richard and Hope, I get the fact that there is hope for this planet. There is. Let's talk to Hope herself. What is the hope for this planet that you see?
I love what you're just saying, Rich, because I've been working with Lynn McTaggart for years, and you're probably aware of her work. And I'm aware of the impact that a small group of people can have on the collective. And the infinity wave is a way for each individual to have an impact on their environment and the people around them, and shifting reality and shifting themselves into a more an upgraded frequency instantaneously. We can't really sit around and we can't all go to a cave anymore. And I learned TM when I was 17, and we do need to meditate. I'm not saying that. It's just that we don't have the time anymore. So we need something that's fast, that clicks us into a vibration that's high. And then we know, because of Lynn's work and a lot of other people's work, that if we combine it, we can produce a wave of influence, and so, what we have learned from many of our Starseed brothers and sisters is that they're not going to come in and save us. We have to do it ourselves. It has to come from within. It has to be something we opt for and we stretch to.
Right.
And come together in unity to do. So it doesn't have to be everybody, but it has to be a certain amount of people, and maybe it's 80 million. I like the 8 in that. That's very good.
Well, I think, these conferences and everything else that's going on as far as pushing for disclosure is making people aware that, one, we are one planet, right? That we're all one species, and the environmental crisis is key to our survival, and we need to treat our Earth different. And we have visitors that are coming in increasing numbers because they're trying to wake us up as fast as possible. They're not gonna do it for us. It's like your mother would say, clean up your room before you can have company. We have to clean up our room so we can have company. And it's like, they're not going to let us destroy the planet, but they're also not going to clean up the mess, the really awful mess that we have made. So we need people like everyone on this panel and everyone here, Julian Michaels and everybody else, to put in their downloadable experience, because it's not going to happen on the human level. I think the human level created the problem.
Right.
It's this other level with Hope and Richard and everyone else talking here that is going to give us this higher frequency. So Igor, you just something? Oh,
just
go
something
ahead.
real quick.
Yes,
So,
yes.
something Hope said that I think was fascinating. So when we were learning these meditations, we were 100 people for 10 years in Maine. We would go once a year to meet with Trungpa Rinpoche, who was one of the high lamas of the Tibetan Kagyu lineage. And he gave us instructions, which are exactly that, the fast ways to awaken. And these were instructions by a lama called Khenpo Gangsha Rinpoche, who in the 1950s, when Tibet was being invaded right before, he was in his monastery. He saw the snow melting actually on the peaks, which was probably an early sign of climate change. He passed out and died with a heart attack. The way the story goes, a big raven flew into the monastery on the windowsill, saw him on the floor, went over to him, pecked on his head, opened up his channel, and he awoken completely to enlightenment.
Wow.
And what's in my book is the Khenpo Gangsha enlightenment teachings, because they no longer had 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days to do meditation. We needed to awaken people quickly to reach their full potential. So I put these in the book. I figured a meditation book by a Lyme doctor was not going to do it, but something that was a Starseed book, like Starseed Revolution, The Awakening, with these meditation instructions might have a much bigger following of people who would understand what I was trying to do. So it's interesting you were talking about that, because that's exactly what I ended up putting in the book.
That is great. I mean, awakening. Yeah, thank you. That is a great story. I've never heard that. It's like, so people like Marina, you've come in here, and I think just your presence in a way awakens people. You, Barbara, you know Marina's work. Are you familiar with Marina? You are. And
Yes.
Yes. So Marina, tell us then, as you came in Awaken, we asked you before, but what can we do? What can all of us do to awaken to this full realization? Because when we realize who we are, we're not going to destroy the planet. We're not going to buy plastics. We're not going to, pollute our oceans. So tell us, because we're all here for that reason. Why are you here? And all of us. Tell us.
Well, I'm here to remind people of the knowledge that it was forgotten and to actually make a difference by my own presence, because whatever that I do for myself in terms of my own spiritual evolution, it has an impact on the collective, because I'm now part of that structure, of that sort of like fractal part of consciousness that we all are as humans. So I think that what we have to do, all of us, is first to work on an individual level, because it's a reflection. The outside is just a reflection on the inside. So what we have to do is to integrate the shadow, because if we ground a lot of light without taking the shadow into awareness and actually bringing back the consciousness, we're only going to polarize more the collective construct of the earth and the planetary consciousness. So if we leave that and awareness and kind of like and consciousness, it's not going to help bring the solution of integration. So what we have to do on an individual level is to look at our own shadow, look at the reflections, and work naturally, at our own pace and time, so that integrating all of that, we can become kind of like neutral, but not in a sense of canceling polarity, but integrating in so that we can shine the light, because the light can only shine if it's on a dark shadow space. So the more awareness that we have in our shadow, and the more that we integrate it and put it back to consciousness, the more that we can shine the light, and the more that we can bring forward here.
Wow, I wish I knew that when I was 21 years old. Really, that would have saved me a lot of trouble. And I had to look at the outside to get the shadow on the inside. But yeah, but that is great. That is really great. Igor, you work with a lot of energy. You want to talk about some of the techniques you use to activate people and get them into these higher states?
Yeah, so when I work with people, I just kind of sense their energy fields. And through those energy fields, I can sense the beings that are working through, because they'll be like having a channel connections. So each individual will have their own different beings, and whatever is coming through at that moment in time, I would usually channel and allow them to adjust their energy fields. So most of my work is to adjust the energy fields where the physical body will have a shift, and then they have a realization, and they'll have the downloads of whichever beings they're working with.
Wow.
So as that happens, the physical body also changes. Now they create their own channel, and they'll be able to communicate with those beings more in a conscious state. So the whole purpose is for us to always be conscious of what's around us, feeling this energy fields, being aware of what's happening, not only just the physical body, but it's not our thoughts, but it is within the energy, the thoughts that are within the energy fields.
You want to do a little sample now for everyone listening? Just a quick, like 2-minute, 3-minute thing to activate the energy? Is that possible?
Yeah, so for me, I always start off with people of bringing awareness into their energy fields. Just if you're just sitting here, just bringing awareness into it. And as you feel the awareness, connect it with your breath. So as you breathe in, feel your energy bubble contrast. As you breathe out, feel your energy bubble expand. And it's perfect sphere above you, beneath you, and all around you. So as you breathe in, it comes close to your body. As you breathe out, it starts to expand out further and further. Just feel those waves all around you. This is your energy fields. This is your magnetic field, your light body, your essence, your soul. As you stay with that movement, going back and forth, it is just like moving your hands. You're just now moving your energy fields. Now bringing awareness into the back of your body, and about 5 to 6 inches away from your body, you'll feel your spiritual spine. And just allow that spiritual spine to expand out further into the back. As the astral plane in the back, the most of the communication comes in through there, which goes directly in the back of our neck and our shoulder area and our pineal. So as you bring clarity in there, bring in light, because you are the gods and goddesses of your energy fields. Therefore, you have the power to transmute and manipulate your energies.
Wow. Mm. Wow.
Good. Gently you can come back to yourselves, but still be aware of this energy field as you open your eyes. Be conscious of everything around you.
Wow, the
You're
room.
still kind of allowed to move back and forth as you open your eyes, being conscious of it. So now we're merging this 5D into this 3D, and we understand that it's all here at this moment.
Yeah, you know, the room we're sitting in has just shifted. It's just, do you feel that? It's just, wow. So thank you, Igor. We'll try to stay 5D for the moment. But Barbara, isn't this incredible, the help we're getting? It wasn't like that when you got into the field, right? You know, how different is today's world than the world that you started in as a therapist and as a,
Oh my goodness, yes, incredibly different. And it's getting higher and higher in consciousness, more and more spiritually attuned. I mean, this when I started this particular part of my work in 1991, nobody that I was aware of was working on this level or talking in these terms. And the focus in terms of extraterrestrials was like, oh my God, I've been abducted, you know? And I mean, I don't mean to make fun of anybody who had that feeling and had those experiences, definitely not. But still, the emphasis was on this, you know, negative thing that beings were coming and stealing people away in the night. And there was a lot of fear and trauma about that. And of course, legitimately, that needs to be worked through. But what I kept finding in regressing people was that they would go through what they considered very, very negative experiences. And then they would realize in the same experiences that there were other beings there who were really inspiring and helpful and teaching them how to be healers and teaching them a whole variety of consciousness skills and psychic skills. So even with my first person I ever worked with in 1991, in regard to extraterrestrial experiences, that person had, to my great surprise and delight, she had her own wonderful transformation just over the course of 6 regressions.
yeah.
And came back the 7th session just announcing that she felt so honored and so blessed to be chosen by these beings for all these experiences. So that really opened the door to me, not only to the whole world of extraterrestrial encounters, but opened the world to the fact that, wow, there's a lot of benevolence out there too. And that it's really possible for people to be not only inspired, but in many cases transformed
Yes.
in a very positive way
Well,
from these experiences.
thank you for being really the grand dame of the UFO world for the last 30 years. You really are one of the people at the top of that field because you're so dedicated to just really transformation. Forget about the aliens, it's about transformation.
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Not even a question about it. If we don't transform our society right now into more of an enlightened society, where there's much more love, much more compassion, caring about others, instead of the, used to call it the hashtag me movement, instead of the Me Too, would be the me.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's just time that we just have to expand and start having humanitarian values, which thank God is the age of Aquarius, which is starting, which
Yes.
is humanitarian values.
Right.
Without that, I don't know that the planet would survive with any good quality of existence going forward.
So,
but
how does your work
I'm
then?
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. What's that?
Barbara, I'm just getting, there's grayish silver
Oh.
beings that are behind you.
Oh.
And they're coming through at your shoulder level. I've been wanting to say it, but I've been at
Are
your
they
shoulder
good?
level,
Are they
your neck
good
region.
beings?
Yes,
good?
I don't know if you can sense them right now.
You could see them?
Like here,
Oh,
There's-
Hope can actually see them. You could see
I
them?
can see one on one side.
Yes, they're saying, can you just open that chakra in the back so they have more information for you to take in?
Oh,
down.
thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Igor. That's wonderful.
That's
I feel a goodness there.
Yeah,
I feel a subtle energy there, not like a distinct touch, but like a very refined
yeah.
Mm.
energy movement. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Thank you, Igor. That's great. We're all feeling that. I just wanted to finish that question with Richard about, you were mainstream. Suddenly, what opened up inside you? How did you go from treating Lyme disease to making starseed connection?
It really just happened reading the climate literature. I was just so concerned reading it years ago. My wife and I were actually in Holland. We were in Amsterdam years ago, and we were with a psychic. You remember this in Amsterdam, and we were talking about the oceans and how the oceans are now polluted and all the plastics, the microplastics showing up and the heavy metals and just what's happening to the planet. And I started weeping, and I realized that, I've been linked into this of coming in almost as a mother, feeling like, what can I do to help? And this feeling of what can I do to help has been with me really my entire lifetime.
That's why.
And of course, my Jewish mother said, instead of becoming singing and going to Broadway and doing things, you should become a doctor, which now I just make YouTube videos as half aliens doing this. But the fact is that I've always had the feeling like I've come to help. Even when I was young, when I was in yeshiva and I would pray to God, I would hear things at 6 years old about my purpose here, but I didn't understand it.
What was your purpose?
I'm almost embarrassed to say this
We
out.
are among friends.
So when I was 6 years old, before people told me that I could talk to God, I heard one day in meditation, "You've come to save the world." And I answered, "What do you mean?" Like, I'm sick, sitting in bed, right, having a conversation with God. And it's like, I heard it again. "You've come to save the world." And of course, I didn't hear anything after that. It was very stark in listening to it. And then things happened in my early childhood with a divorce where the psychic connection got cut for a while. And it reestablished itself when I started meditating again in my late 20s. And then I realized, like, at first I thought, I've come to help the world with Lyme disease because we have an epidemic on our hands that has been denied. It's worldwide. And then COVID-19 hit. And I discovered solutions for COVID-19, which, by the way, if anyone wants to know the success I'm having, my other website, not the Starseed-Revolution, my medical website is cangetbetter.com. I have a New York Times bestselling book and a national bestseller, Why Can I Get Better and How Can I Get Better? But we've used glutathione, high-dose glutathione with ivermectin as an antiviral, and the entire protocol, just click under the COVID tab on Can Get Better, you'll find it. Then I thought, okay, well, that's how I'm helping the world. It was Lyme, now it's COVID, and then climate hit. And I realized, gee, maybe this is ultimately what I've been meant to do. And when I started meditating and this book just channeled through me, I realized there was a lot more for me to do here. I just didn't think doing it as a board certified internal medicine doctor, who, by the way, I work for HHS, I work for the government, and I work for the New York State Department of Health. So at some point, if they find out actually all about this, it'll be very interesting to see the emails that I may get back regarding this. Fortunately, I think my medical reputation has been pretty solid after 35 years, but I just feel called to help in this way. And when I opened to my spiritual teachers and got out of the way, this book just got channeled through, and it got channeled with teachings by Khenpo Gongshar, how to awaken quickly. What are the problems? What are the solutions? And the thing that concerns me the most, honestly, are these tipping points, is the fact that now we know that the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, is slowing down, which is why we may be getting these heat domes. And we see that the permafrost is melting with CO2 and methane is heating the planet 30 to 80 times faster than carbon dioxide. It's coming from the ocean floors. It's coming from the permafrost. My sense is that we're very close to a tipping point. And when I wrote the book, which starts in 2035, I thought there was really no way in the world we were going to hit 1.5, 1.6 degrees above centigrade. And I describe in the book what I thought would happen. Unfortunately, I think we're kind of headed towards that if we don't really take steps right now.
Do you think ET teachers are actually working through you to communicate like that level?
You know, it was difficult, and until I met Hope today for the first time, I wasn't sure who communicates. I know that some of my Tibetan teachers, Guru Rinpoche specifically, I have a very strong connection to, but I wasn't sure. The Arcturian is the one that came to me. It was the Arcturian connection. I thought maybe the Tibetans were Arcturians because I've been studying with them for 40 years. You know, they're certainly not your average kind of person you're studying with. But I realize now in opening up as a medical intuitive, and again, my patients, I think most of my patients who I don't think are on the line listening to this don't really know what I do behind the scenes. But I realize that maybe I have been actually channeling a starseed. Yes, I mean, it's
think
possible.
you actually are a starseed when you get that download that you're here to save the world. We all are. Maureen, I know, feels that way. Igor, Barbara definitely has dedicated her life to transformation, and Hope. We all have hope. No, but no, talk about, you know, your mission, and let's do a little infinity wave meditation. Is that possible?
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, thank you, Richard. That was beautiful. Very passionate.
This is so exciting to meet you, Richard, and hear the passion, but it's a thrust that is very strong, very powerful. And the fact that you're able to take your human humor and lighten it a little bit is really important, because it's heavy stuff. It's heavy stuff. Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to say to Barbara, been a huge fan for a long time, and thank you very much for paving the way and opening minds and hearts for so long, because we stand on your shoulders, and so I'm very grateful. Okay, so it's interesting because when the infinity wave came into me, you know, it stopped me in my tracks. I was walking through my living room, and the last thing I ever expected, and never had seen visions. I heard things, and I would see things now and then, but mostly I was clairaudient. But this was a giant, like, projector of 100-foot wave, and it was quite arresting. And then to have a kind of a visual of this byline that this push of evolution was coming. And the second image was a cross section of the wave, so it looked like the letter C. And I'm only bringing that up because in that vision, the byline was so the way that a wave gets its energy to crest is by digging down into the seabed, into the seafloor. So the message was, leave all your knowing, like all your earthly knowing, on the shore and go to the earth, dig down into the earth, and the wisdom keepers of the earth, the indigenous ones, for your new knowing. And then you mix that with this incoming thrust. And then the infinity wave appeared. So my journey has been, you know, we've learned how to meditate. We've learned how to raise our vibrations and kind of go up. But what I came to understand was that, just like the shape of the figure 8, the down and working with the earth and working with the wisdom of the earth and the consciousness of the earth was in equal part to this upward energy. And I had already experienced what it was like to go too high, and as I described earlier, where I almost transitioned. I lost my sense of taste, my sense of smell. This is long before COVID. I went and had an MRI in case something was wrong with my brain, but it wasn't. It was me just getting too high and out. So with the infinity wave, I learned how to go equal parts down into the spirituality of the earth and up into the spirituality that lies around us and above us at all times. So that is one of the fundamental pieces that we haven't really taught, that it's equal. if you
The
go
earth
down
and the
the earth and the heavens, if we go to down a shamanistic trail and we start to learn about that, we do learn about the amazing consciousness of nature and so on. But again, they don't necessarily pair it on an equal basis. So that's one of the benefits of the infinity wave. And when we talk about as above, so below, I feel like the earth is the below, and then what we think of as the heavens is the above. And we are in the middle.
Yeah.
We're in that nexus point, that 0 point right in the middle, as receivers of above and receivers as below, but they can't make things happen except through us. We are the action figures in the middle of these two great realms. So what I'd like to do
Let's
then,
wave at each other.
let's wave at each other. Well,
Yes.
first of all, I just want to have everybody get a felt sense of what this is. So if you just close your eyes for a minute, and the breathing that Igor did earlier is something also that I like to do. So just let's get back to that sphere and the idea that you're breathing in, and it's getting a little smaller. And then when you exhale, it gets bigger like a balloon. And just to center us a little bit with the breath. I also like to do it breathing from above and below into the heart center and exhaling through above and below. And when we do this, we begin to feel ourselves as this conduit for both those energies and as this beautiful blueprint of these action figures in the middle of these two equally spiritual realms. Okay, now if you just, in your relaxed way, just imagine there's a little infinity wave in your heart center. So just a figure 8 made of flowing water. The water can be any color, and the infinity wave can be turned in any direction. It's just, and you can even use your finger over your chest to kind of get it going. It's just this watery figure 8, gently flowing in your heart center. And you might even feel a little softening or a little fluttering on a physical level. And so
Na razie dobrze. Na razie wiesz.
Wait. Just mute yourself there. Okay, go ahead.
So now, just as we were breathing, inhale, and on your inhales, the figure 8, the little loops of the 8 are going to get a little bit bigger like balloons. And every inhale stretches them a little bit more until they're a couple inches. Your infinity wave is a couple inches wide. Opening your heart just a little bit more. And inherent in this figure 8 is this high, pure level of love and compassion. So you are basically feeding yourself without any effort. You're inviting love and compassion into your heart center. And just feel what a gift that is, and try to be as receptive to that. We're not used to receiving that level of love and compassion for our walk upon this planet, our choice to be here, our choice to love, our choice to be so courageous in the face of so many challenges. Just feel that compassion and that love. Infinite compassion, infinite love. Okay, now if you want to gently open your eyes and pick anybody out of the room, pick any face, and anybody, if you don't want to show your face, pick somebody's initials, and just imagine that from your heart to their heart is this figure 8 made of flowing water. And what we're doing is we're not efforting, we're just inviting. It's all about flow and receptivity. And sometimes you can begin to feel this tug and your body almost wants to lean into it. The beautiful thing about this is whatever you are sending out, you are receiving back. So if you ever need to calm down in a moment or have a conversation with somebody that you want to rise to the next level, This is an instantaneous way to do it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hope.
My pleasure.
That also shifted the reality, didn't it? Shift the reality. So we should start to wrap up. We could go on for hours, but Marina, do you want to leave us with like a little piece that will help us shift to the level of the place that you've come from, and like how to integrate the ET realms into this, because there is a new heaven and a new earth, as Richard was saying. You have a question over there? Yeah. All right, we'll get to Richard, but so Marina, do you want to share just a little aspect of this evolution you've been, because we're all here to save the earth, but how are you doing that? And what can you leave us with?
Well, I just wanted to remind people that we are a hybrid species, and that means that we are made up with not only extraterrestrial DNA, but also fallen angel and angelic DNA from higher realms and lower realms of consciousness. That what makes humans so polarity consciousness oriented. We have a lot of what it's called in the film DNA, which is
Nephilim, like the Anunnaki. Yes, right. Yes.
Which is what it's expressing and projecting the negative patterns of polarity consciousness here, the tyranny, the separation, the hate, and all of that warlike mentality. But we also have been gifted with hyper sapient DNA and angelic DNA from other realms of consciousness, which is what was created in the beginning of humanity as an genetic experiment, when the extraterrestrials from many star systems such as Pleiades and Arcturus and Sirius and Andromeda and all many other star systems like Cassiopeia and the rest of them, they have actually gifted us with the ability to balance that and kind of like defective DNA and uplift it and be able to complement it with an angelic frequency that will help us integrate that fallen angel energies to bring back what it's called Christ consciousness. And and that expresses the process of becoming more of a crystalline based, silicate-based DNA. So our auras and our molecules, genetic codes and structures will start to become more crystalline, because crystalline is just the reference from what it's called Christ, which we call, the Son of God, Christ consciousness.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question that is so beautiful. Marina, do you recommend a method or a way to focus oneself on that crystalline communication with our angelic helpers and the angelic aspects of ourselves?
Yes, well, so the angelic frequencies are really specific domain, that we all connect to naturally because we are light and we are all part of that. So the first kind of like a step or guide towards doing that, it's to recognize that you exist so at that level, that we're more multidimensional beings, and just because something seems to be outside of us, it's not outside or far away. It's not distance away or meters or kilometers or whatever. It's just frequencies away. And that is our responsibility to be able to, not hold any resistance or any kind of like beliefs of in kind of like not
unworthiness.
Right. So when we recognize it, we sort of call it in, like, oh, it's there. I'm feeling it because I'm recognizing, and then I am connecting with it. Yes? Great. Marina, how can people find you and connect with you and learn more about everything you're talking about and doing?
Well, I have a page called www.marinaseren.com, in which I share my experiences. I have a blog, to many of my stories, many of my knowledge, many of my channelings, and I also have an ET gallery art, as well as an experiencing gallery in which I share some of my UFO tapes and my abduction marks and some sketches of the beings that I encounter in my journey.
Right. And English is not your first language. You learned English in order to communicate with the world, right? I remember you told us that. Isn't that fantastic?
Fantastic. Could you repeat that website?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
www.marinaseren.com.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Oh, okay, Igor, how can people find out more about you and all the workshops and everything you're doing?
You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I do also have a website, so it's igorgalibov.com or Alignment of Light. That's the other website. And primarily I use Instagram and Facebook. So you can look me up on there. And for Robert, I have a message for Robert, correct? The doctor?
Richard.
Okay. Richard, I'm sorry. Richard, the Arcturian being that is standing on your left side of you, about 2 feet away from your auric field, okay? He says, when you do work with them, invite them into your energy fields. Otherwise, they will not come through until you invite them in.
Wow, that makes
Thank you.
sense. Invite them in, Richard. They're waiting for you for the invitation. Thank you, Igor. Igor's also going to be speaking at my book event in New York City, September 30th. We'll be launching my book, Making Contact, and Igor's going to be one of the guest ET speakers. So, Barbara, thanks so much for joining us. And
Welcome.
I'll put my website
oh
in the
yeah,
chat.
oh yeah, you can put your website in the chat. But tell us, how do people reach you? You're still doing lots of talks and
Regressions too.
regressions
They're
and
very actively doing regressions. And I'd like to say too that it's been wonderful that more and more people have, for the last 2 years, more and more people have been coming for regressions to really find out what their own purpose is in being here in this life. And they have a sense that they're here for some important service. And in many cases, they don't feel like they've actually found what that calling, that service is. So in the regression, I take them into their higher knowing, their soul knowing, for
right.
having made the decision to come into this life and for whatever the main purpose is. So that has been very helpful, as well as people finding out the details of their extraterrestrial encounters.
And talk about the book you just wrote with Mary Edwards, your
Oh,
book.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I've written 4 books, but the most recent one, and very exciting to me, is for children or for the adults who might be reading it with children. And the name of that is Kids Adventures with ET Friends in Space. So it's a book, big full color pictures and captions about a number of different kinds of experiences, adventures that children whom I have worked with have had with the extraterrestrial beings. And it ends with the child being taught that when he grows up, if he keeps evolving, he can be part of the great galactic federation.
Beautiful. Thank you for joining us, Barbara. It's always great to see you. And
You're
your
welcome, Ellen.
great work. Let me just get to Richard. Tell us about how to find your book and your websites and everything.
Yeah, so my book and climate website is www.starseed- you have to put in the dash, starseed-revolution.com. It's a very extensive climate website, by the way. Spend time in it because I discuss the problems, and I also discuss a 3-part scientific solution for the climate. One of them that I'm really putting forth, at least that I'm getting through my own channeling, is geoengineering to cool the planet now, because it looks like we're going to run out of time, and that it's something we need to look at very seriously. So yes, the website does have all of that information. You can order the book directly. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. And I've got YouTube videos. If you want a good laugh, please click on the videos and watch what my mother hoped I would never do, which is start to do Broadway impressions and shtick at this point in time. So hopefully, Ma, you'll be proud of me at some point with this, but that's kind of how it's unfolding
She's
over
already
time.
proud of you. And this is Richard's first panel, really. You're coming out of the closet today.
This is my coming out party. Yes, you could certainly
Yay.
say that.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. And Hope Fitzgerald, tell us how to find you. Yes, it's in the chat. Yes.
I typed it into the chat because sometimes it can be challenging, excuse me. I keep saying channeling.
Or maybe you want to
And maybe I want to. So it's my company is Wave Energy Evolution, and it's all about spiritual evolution. So I named it 10 years ago. The website is we-infinity.com. we-infinity.com, and you can find me on Facebook under the Wave Energy Evolution as well.
One thing that's very funny, when I was channeling my book in the middle of the 3-part Broadway show on the climate called Ecocide, which is in the book, all of a sudden there's an infinity wave that I wrote into the middle of this. And I was wondering, why am I putting this infinity wave showing up in the middle? And now I realize, meeting you today, like where this was partially coming from, including the Nephilim are in there. It's like I'm meeting everyone today going, well, I was connecting with things I didn't realize at the time. So thank you. That was great.
Wow, this is great. So as everyone's saying here, we are getting visitors and we have to clean up the earth. We are moving into a time of a new heaven and a new earth. This is our future. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Get my book if you want to start making contact. Thank you, Hope. But no, it's more than that. It's more about moving into a new future here. Everyone on this panel really has a vision of what's possible as we evolve as a human civilization. And that's why we do this, because there's something great and glorious coming to us. We are at the threshold of a new time, a new moment in history. And I think it's very exciting. I think it's
tremendous.
if we can get out of this little mess we created and open to this bigger reality, I think the sky's even not the limit. So we are going someplace. Thank you all. I'm Alan Steinberg. There's Mark Becker, the producer. Mark, I guess we're just on time. How's it going?
Oh, everything is perfect. Actually, it was an awesome panel. I'm sure everybody loved it. Now, you can go into room 31, and anybody that wants to follow you can go to room 31 and you can continue.
Well, I don't know. Okay, maybe. Let's see.
If you want, you decide what you want to do.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for sharing your experiences.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for giving us the opportunity, Mark. You're always putting on a great show. Mark is doing a live expo in New York in October. So a lot of us will be there. And
October 22, 23, 24.
Right. New Life Expo. That's Mark at newlifeexpomag.com. And we're
it's either New Life, Mark at newlifeexpo.com or Mark at newlifemag.com, either one.
And we'll probably do a show in Florida in January too. There's one coming up there.
January 22nd and 23rd. Okay, so I'm going to sign off.
Okay, I'm just doing a panel on the Making Contact Campus tonight at 9:30 Eastern. So
right, and you're also going to be talking tonight at 3:40.
I am talking today at 3:40. All right, yes. Thank you. Thank you. And Marina, always great to come here from Spain. I appreciate that. And Barbara and Igor and my friends here, Hope and Richard, my best friend, Richard. We're going to travel the planets.
Igor, I've invited him in. He's very thankful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Okay. See you guys. Bye.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well done, Mark.